And welcome to our program, Home is Nevada. Today, boy, we're going to have a lot of fun. My co-pilot, Neil Cobb, and myself, your host, Dick Stoddard, we're going to take you on a tour over to Sparks, Nevada. We're going to, after the program, you're going to know why it is known as the Rail City. We've got a real conductor, and we're going to take a look at an old train back to 1911. Stay tuned, you're going to love it. Welcome back to Home is Nevada, and boy, this is going to be an exciting show. I've got my conductor here today with me, Dick Dreiling, with the museum and the train.
Right.
Dick, why don't you explain to us what we're looking at here? I know I have my hand on the whistle, right?
That is the train whistle.
Yeah.
Only engineer got to play with the whistle.
Oh, okay. How about what's right in front of you? This thing is impressive.
This is the boiler, and down below was the firebox. Now, this engine, unlike a lot of that you see in the movies, she was oil-fired, so there's no throwing coal around.
Okay.
This is very hot, so there were windows here, and they kept them open.
All right.
This is the throttle. This determines how fast they're going. This is where they had the brakes. This large bar in the back is the closest thing to a gear shift they have in these things. You put it all the way forward, the engine will go forward. All the way back, the engine will go back.
Where's the brake on this thing?
The brakes are right here.
Oh, very good. Okay.
If you pull into a station, you didn't want to go anyplace, put that in the middle where it is now, and it would idle.
All right, now quickly behind us there, we've got two big tanks with water and oil. How much in each one?
Behind us, we have the tender. The tender is made up of two separate tanks.
Uh-huh.
The forward tank here carries 1,800 gallons of oil.
Oh.
The back tank, 3,000 gallons of water. The fireman's job, who used to sit over on this side, was to control the flow of oil into the firebox and water into the boiler. There used to be gauges here. They could monitor the air pressure, or the steam pressure inside, and the air brake pressure. And when they were sitting in a station, loading cargo and passengers and so forth, pressure kept building up. So every once in a while they'd take a little lever on each side here, they'd pull it, and that's when steam would blow out the bottom of the engine. That was reduced pressure.
And you told me every so many 25 or 30 miles the train would have to stop to get water, and what were those little communities called?
Well, in the early days, when they weren't using the large tanks like this,
right, they needed water.
The only water they had was in the boiler.
Okay.
So they go about 25 to 30 miles.
Yeah.
The railroad had windmills and water tanks, and on the water tank was a large spout.
I've seen that in movies.
Okay, the engine would stop, the fireman would get up there, and he'd jerk that spout down and put water in the engine.
And then they'd take off.
And people living around the area would say, oh, train stops at this thing every day. So towns would grow up around those water tanks. Those towns became known as a jerkwater town because that's where they jerked the water down.
Boy, there were a lot of those across Nevada.
There were.
Isn't that incredible?
In fact, if you look at early maps, you'll see little dots about every 30 miles all the way across the state.
Isn't that something?
We have a couple of those maps over in the museum that show that.
What type of mileage did the train get, if you can even describe it in those terms?
Well, I've asked a fellow who used to be a fireman on this engine, and he said it all depended on the load, the terrain.
Oh, that's right, sure.
There were so many variables, he said you really couldn't come up with it. But he did one time in this, he was on this engine, he went 252 miles and had to put more water in, but he still had oil left.
Well, that's good.
So that's quite a long distance.
I'll say it is. Now, you did mention to me also that clubs, organizations, and schools can come out here and take a tour of this train.
Absolutely. All they got to do is call the Sparks Museum at 355-1144.
All right.
Ask for a tour, and we do this any time during the week.
No charge?
No charge.
Oh, they've got to come out here and see this. The school kids would absolutely love it.
On Saturdays, we do guided tours through the train, and there we charge. It's $1 for adults, kids are free. But if they want to do the museum and the train, then it's $5 for adults.
Isn't that remarkable? And you said how many schools came through last year?
Oh, we have about 18 to 20 school tours.
And the Cub Scouts also? Girl Scouts?
8 or 10. I've got one coming up in April, Cub Scouts.
All right, very good. That is really good. The number again is
355-1144.
All right. And now we're going to be taking a look also at two other cars, right? A passenger car?
Yes. We're going to look at the caboose, and then we're going to look at a very special car, railroad executive's business car, which is like no passenger car you ever saw in your life.
And that's 700 square feet. It's 70 long, 10 feet wide.
Roughly 700 square feet, and in there is the equivalent apartment of 4 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, a kitchen, a pantry, and a large meeting room for dining.
And I think I also saw some chandeliers.
Nice chandeliers, all original.
Oh yeah, you people have got to see this, so stay tuned. We've got more here to show you in just a few minutes. Don't go away. Welcome back to Home is Nevada. A big part of Nevada history, of course, is the railroad, and we're in Sparks, Nevada. And now I'm understanding more and more why it's called the Rail City, and we got the Sparks Railroaders over at the high school.
That's correct.
My conductor today, we are now in the caboose.
This is the caboose. The caboose was actually the office for the conductor.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
What a lot of people don't realize is the conductor actually was in charge of the train. No, seriously.
No, what about the
He was the driver.
Oh.
He didn't know when he could start. Conductor had to be able to tell him that.
So, and you put him all the way in the back of the train.
Absolutely. That way he could check out the whole train.
So what's in the caboose that's important?
Well, in the caboose, they had this was basically their home. They had a coal stove, they had a stretcher, they had first aid kit, they had water, they had a wash basin, a toilet, they had a box for torpedoes and fuses. Don't think of torpedoes like you see in the movies.
I am.
Now, this is a small red package about that big square, had metal ears on it.
What do you need it for?
If the train had to stop for whatever reason, if the brakeman was riding in the cupola up above and saw something wrong, he'd tell the conductor would tell the engineer to stop. Then the most important thing is protect the back of the train.
Ah.
So he'd reach in his box, grab a handful of fusees and a torpedo. Fusees look just like the emergency flares you carry in your automobile, but you don't carry the torpedo. He'd stick the torpedo in his back pocket, start out away from the train. About 100 yards out, he'd pop a flare. 100 yards out, he'd pop another flare. Another 100 yards, pop a flare. And then he'd go a half mile behind the train, put that torpedo on the rail, bend it down, and hustle back to work on the car. If another train came down and hit that torpedo, huge explosion, not a damaging. Think of a giant cap pistol. That engineer could hear it and know he had a stalled train ahead of him. So he'd hit the brakes and stop. Now, once the job was repaired and they could get on their way safely, the brakeman would look back, and if there's no train sitting there, half a mile out and get that torpedo and bring it back. You don't want to leave a false alarm out on the tracks.
Fascinating. I didn't know that. I forgot about that. There's only like pretty much one track, right?
In a lot of places
going across the country.
Yeah.
Way back then.
Today there's more double tracks than single.
So this train that's out here in Sparks was built in 1911, correct?
No, the engine was built in 1907 for the Nevada, California, Oregon Railway. She ran between Reno via Alturas, California to Lakeview, Oregon. The business car, which we'll be looking at in a few minutes, was built in 1911. This car was built in 1941. Now, the caboose and business car actually came from Houston, Texas. They had been retired, and when the city of Sparks wanted to put in a railroad park for the nation's bicentennial, they contacted SP. SP hooked on to it, hauled them up here, and donated them to the city free of charge.
Isn't that wonderful?
The engine was in the custody of the California or the Nevada State Museum in Carson City. When you talk about later engines, they go up to hundreds of thousands of pounds.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huge.
Early days of the railroad. That's fascinating. It's all right here on Victorian Square out in
correct.
Sparks. Yeah, that's really exciting. All right, the next car we're going to see is
the business car.
Is the business car. All right.
It looks from the outside like a passenger car.
Yes.
That's what it was originally built to be in 1911.
And it looks to be quite comfortable.
It is very comfortable. It is so plush. I've had people on guided tours through here that would like to rent a room.
All right. Our conductor today is Dick Dreiling. We're going to be back with more in just a minute.
Hello, boy!
Hey, I remember that. All right, let's go. Boy, these stairs are a little steeper than I remember. Oh, wow, that's something else. Fortunately, there's not a lot of stairs there.
That's true.
All right, conductor, what are we doing now?
Well, I can't let this gentleman on without a ticket.
Oh, that's right. We have to
gosh.
Neil, you got your ticket?
Well, what does this thing cost me anyway?
$5 for the museum and the train. Only $1 if you want to just do the train.
Oh, no, I want to do the museum, too.
That's $5.
I'm in for $5.
You got a $5 ticket.
All
Okay.
right, we are now in a gorgeous car here. This is wide for only 10 feet across. I'm impressed.
Well,
There's
yeah,
a lot of room here.
there's approximately 700 square feet in this entire car. When it was originally built in 1911 by the Pullman Company, it was built as a chair car. Now this is a photograph, the inside of it, and this car was built for the El Paso and Southwestern Railroad out of Houston, Texas. And here is a copy of the original elevation plans, and this is the layout. You can see that it had chairs down the center aisle.
Seats quite a few people.
Yes, had a ladies' room at one end and gentlemen's at the other end. Now in 1928, Southern Pacific had a branch line running out of Houston called the Texas New Orleans. They bought this car, but they didn't want a passenger car. They took it in the yards, gutted it, and built what we see today. This is a railroad executive's business car.
Plush carpeting, I like that.
Beautiful.
Chandeliers, curtains.
Well, in the 700 square feet I was talking to you about, this car has the equivalent of 4 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, a kitchen, a pantry, and this large living and dining room.
Let's take a quick look back there, shall we?
Yes, let's do that.
So this is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath.
No, this is a 4-bedroom, 4-bath.
Oh, I'm losing count. Rooms look a little small, Dick.
Well, this first one is small. This is the secretary's bedroom.
Oh,
Now, secretaries were always men. They never took
Whoa.
females on the rail. Now,
Whoa.
and as a matter of fact, except for call girls, railroad didn't hire a lot of women until World War II.
And the call girls weren't the typical call
No,
girls.
they weren't.
No,
Sparks
they
was a major division point, and if they, not too many people had telephones, so if they had an emergency or had to bring somebody in, they would send call boys and call girls out to knock on people's doors and call them to work.
Ah.
I purposely leave out the call boys first. I like to see the eyeballs roll and the dirty minds work.
You got the dirty
There you go.
working.
The hallway's getting a little narrow.
Well, this is our first master bathroom. It has a tub and a shower, a wash basin, and a small basin in the back end, which is rather strange, a denture basin.
Ah.
Oh, our camera guy. John, we got to show him the denture basin.
Yes.
He'll find that.
Yeah, you'll find it.
And it's stainless steel lined.
This is the first of the 2 master bedrooms. These are double beds. They have built-in bookcases, dressers. On the far wall, you see a medicine cabinet with a stainless steel wash basin. That wash basin could fold up on a wall, which gave you a stool to sit and tie your shoes. But if you had more important things on your mind, you raise the top of that stool, and that is your toilet.
Ah.
Now, what you cannot see, further on inside the room, comes into this enclosure right here, there's another tub and shower. The 2 master bedrooms shared this tub and shower. The secretary had that tub and shower all to himself.
Ah.
Here in the second master bedroom, it's laid out a little differently. And in this one, we have the toilet exposed so you can see what the toilet actually looked like. This door right here could be closed at night to just section off the berthing compartment from the crew quarters. From this here back is the crew quarters, and in here we have the pantry. This car had a full-time cook and a full-time porter assigned, and from the pantry you can look back in this next room and you can see the crew berthing. Now actually what you see today is a bunk and a dinette. The dinette made into a second bunk.
I think I noticed I found a toilet in a shower.
Yes.
What is that all about?
Well, it saves room.
It's what?
Saves room. But it also
Well,
also redefines the word double duty.
Double duty.
Okay.
And that you'll find that in the crew's bathroom in here. Now in the pantry is a cupboard here for all their dishes, and it's all compartmentalized and padded. There's icebox down below. There's a sink so the porter could wash the dishes after dinner. He would make up the plates and go serve the meal. The cook worked on the other side over here. This is the kitchen, which also is all stainless steel. He had a gas range. He had icebox. He had his own sink. That was for washing his utensils and his pots and pans. It's just like a carpenter. You don't mess with a carpenter's tools. You don't mess with a cook's tools.
And there's not a lot of room in this kitchen, Dick.
No, but when you're traveling, that stool is not here, but on the back of this door there's a fold-down seat. so he could just sit and he could sit there and
Oh,
work.
all right. Okay. Where's
Besides-
the dishwasher? I don't see any dishwasher.
It's right there. It's by hand. That's the old-fashioned dishwasher. Now this large green thing we're looking at right here in a passageway, this actually is mechanical air conditioning. This business car was fully self-contained. The way it operated, we have it on behind the caboose, which is correct. It was always the last car in any train that was pulling it. Because let's say our train is going from here to Chicago, but the railroad big shots here are attending a meeting in Salt Lake. Slap it on the back of the car, pull into a siding in Salt Lake, cut this car loose, train goes on its way. This then becomes their hotel. It had to be fully self-contained. It had its own onboard electrical generators for lighting, and it had water heaters for heat. It had mechanical air conditioning, and this is the air conditioning unit here. And it had something most cars did not have in those days, holding tanks. Most cars just, what does a bear do in the woods? Train does on the track. But if you're sitting in someone else's yard for a long period of time, that'd not be cool.
Yeah.
So that's why it did have holding tanks. So when you look at the car from the outside, look the undercarriage, there is a lot of junk hanging down there that you don't see on most cars, because that's all the generators and
Sure.
gas range, fuel, and so forth.
Okay.
And then back here, now this car was in service from 1929 until November of 1972.
Really?
Yeah. And in all that time, they never made ice aboard. They had no compressor to make ice. They would stop at ice plants and load up. And here's our ice storage back out here and ice boxes. And they could handle 2 300-pound blocks of ice in this bottom ice box.
Okay.
Quite a fantastic car.
Boy, I'll say. Now listen, when we come back in a few minutes, Neil, I've got a trivia question for you. I know you've got one for me, and you're also going to talk about what? The school, the museum, and the magazine.
Just a little bit.
Okay. Don't go away. We'll be right back. All right, Neil, what is your trivia question for me
The trivia question today is we have the Spanish Quartet over there in Reno.
Right.
Yeah, one of the schools was named Mary S. Doughton. I want to know what that S stood for.
Isn't that
And I want you to think harder. This is tough. Yes.
Okay.
In the meantime, I'm going to tell everybody about our magazine.
Oh,
We're back
yes.
on track with the Nevada in the West. We've got a brand new one here. We got some trivia in there, too. And we'll let the folks try and figure this one out with a ball game that had a bet on it of $10,000 between Bill Hara and the Smiths over at Harold's Club to play each other's teams. Who's going to win that? That took place in 1948. Who won?
I don't know.
That's another.
That's a tough
That's
one.
another one for them. But right now we have the magazine on the newsstands, and of course you can look us up on the net, NevadaInTheWest.com.
And I'll tell you what, on this Mary S. Doughton, I didn't know for a long time. It was only maybe 4 or 5 years ago I found out through a postcard what the S stood for.
Yes.
Stands for Stoddard.
Stands for Stoddard.
And
yeah.
no relation at all that I know of through my family tree.
Yeah, and guess where I learned that?
Where, you went to the school.
No, I know you.
There you go. I went to McKinley Park, by the way. I didn't go to Mary S. Doughton.
I went to Mary S.
I think I was the class of 54 or something like that.
Or something like that.
All right, this has been a great show. Where are we going to be going in the weeks to come?
Hey, on the next week we're going to be over at the Reno High School Alumni Center. We're going to
Oh, I
talk
can
about
hardly wait for that.
graduates there.
That's right.
Year one.
Okay.
But we've got some notables, Bill Raggio, Bill Thornton, Eva Adams, and we really want to talk about Eva Adams, and people can think about that in the meantime.
Absolutely.
Because she was very, very important.
All right, I want to bring back my conductor before we say goodbye.
Okay, I'm out of here.
Once again, our conductor today has been Dick Dreiling. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Oh, you're welcome. It's my pleasure.
We didn't have time to talk about the school. What is
No. This is a Glendale school. She was built in 1864 and was a one-room schoolhouse until 1958. One of her most prominent students was Senator Pat McCarran. Now, the school was located over in Glendale, about a mile from here, and she has traveled a lot. She got hauled down south at the convention center, and finally the Sparks-Satoma Club decided they want to bring it back here, so they paid to have it shipped back up here, and they did restoration on it, and they now maintain it. but it's a beautiful school. It is, Nevada's celebrating its sesquicentennial, so is that school building.
Isn't that wonderful? So it's another thing that the people can see when they come out here, not just to see the train.
Absolutely.
And one more item before we go. We've got a beautiful bowl here in the middle of our table. Where did this come from?
Well, this punch bowl, I was attending a presentation of the Historic Reno Preservation Society, HARPS, and one of their directors saw me in a crowd, and he pointed out a couple to me, and they turned around, and they had this punch bowl that they wanted to donate to the museum. And we said, yeah, we'd love to have it, because our museum is across the street over here at 814 Victorian. We are the only local history museum in the entire Truckee Meadows. Sparks has a local museum. Reno doesn't.
That's right.
So we're kind of special that way.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And so this, where it came from Reno, that's okay. Also in the museum over there, we have advertising sign for Reno Hot Springs. We've got a reader board out of the Mapes, and we just like to have people done.
Dick, thanks so much for today. Once again, the number they can call to get the tour?
355-1144. Or on Saturdays, we do guided tours from 1 to 4, and that's for paying customers in.
Hey, this has been so much fun. Now we know why Sparks is known as the Rail City. Check in with us again next week.